So, more of my gathering up of wayward points in this Chaos Shamanism series. So, I was on a course a while back. Louis Melmadrona, he's an American guy, part Cherokee Lakota. He's a doctor, conventional doctor. And he was at some kind of powwow, hanging out with his people, and the elders had sort of gathered together, and he's one of them. He's been around a while. He's written a book called Coyote Medicine, which I recommend. It's how he became a healer as a young man and a doctor. So, and they were talking, these guys, they're sitting around, they're talking, well, what should we call ourselves? It's this work we do for people. Yeah. We call ourselves healers. Well, that's a bit pretentious. Yeah. And if we call ourselves medicine men, he goes, that sounds like something out of a spaghetti western. So in the end, they decided on fix it men. It's a bit like a plumber, your pipes aren't working, so you get a plumber around and he'll fix you. Similarly, you've got, maybe personal problems. You get the fix it man round and he'll fix that for you. So it's all on a kind of level. It's not putting you up on a kind of dais, platform of holy and all the rest of it. And I thought, yeah, I'll go with that up to a point. It's not entirely true. So I don't think you can actually fix people. It still gives the wrong impression. All you can really do is show them how to fix themselves, really. Guide them to that. Give them the confidence to do that. And so I thought, no, we're not the fix-it men either. We're the IKEA Flatpak Helpline. So you can't assemble your bookshelves from IKEA. So you ring up their helpline and they'll open up the instructions and they'll help you decode the instructions. They'll help you do it that way. So I thought, yeah, that's it. We're the Flatpak Helpline. And of course, yeah, stuff is transmitted from us. Sometimes we do a bit of energy work and stuff like that, but we're not actually fixing people. We're just helping a few things along the way, really. But fundamentally, they're doing it themselves. And I think in that sense, it creates the right sort of emphasis. It keeps the responsibility where it needs to be. I think sometimes it can give the sort of wrong sort of impression with soul retrievals and depossessions and all the rest of it. It's like, help, I've got an entity hanging on to me. Please fix me, take the entity away. And I don't really like all that stuff. I just ignore this whole thing about entities and all the rest of it. I just get on with it. I mean, yeah, occasionally there can be that sort of stuff, very occasionally, but it's the exception. Okay, that was the first point. I've got a whole list of things. I mean, I could probably, in the book I'm writing, go back and insert them all into the book, but I don't know. I'd rather have this smorgasbord at the end. This is on wildness. What does it mean to be wild? Well, Carl Jung, the great psychologist, had something to say about that. He said, you look at animals in the wild, you look at wild animals, they're very deliberate about everything they do. It's not just that sort of random, chaotic connotation that it may have for us. They know why they're doing what they're doing. They know who they are in a way that we don't. We don't always know what to do. In a way, shamanism is about becoming wild again. Well, I say again Maybe we never were, not in that sense, not in the sense that an animal is wild. We're known amongst some indigenous peoples as the newborn ones because we're the only animals that don't know who they are. And Jung continues, a person who is wild will be a respectable citizen. He will follow the rules. Well, that's an interesting one. That's a complete opposite of what you might have thought. Well, why would you go around breaking the rules? Yes, you don't need to rebel. Yeah. You appreciate the need for an ordered society. Of course, you might not agree with all the rules and you might protest against some occasionally, but really, for a society to be ordered, people need to follow the rules. And if everyone can break them just because they don't agree with them, you're going to have chaos, you're going to have anarchy before you know it. So a wild person can live within that. And it comes out of their self-possession. That's maybe the key word around wildness. You own yourself. You're self-possessed. You're in your body. You're listening to your body. You're listening to who you are at all points and acting from that. And when you act from that inner guidance, you never make a false step. Yeah? You always do the right thing. And things work out as they need to. Not necessarily as we want to, but there's a sense of rightness. And we don't lurch from one disaster to another. You probably notice some people do that. Their lives, they kind of lurch from one mess to another. And if you have that kind of self-possession, then you don't. You always do the right thing. You stop and you think and you consider. It's all those sorts of qualities. It sounds a bit boring, doesn't it? This wildness. But actually it's not, because put some dance music on. Yeah, that animal will take over. Again, not in a random sort of way, but in a very vigorous sort of way. That beat will rise up through you, yeah, and move your body, and you will have joy and you will have ecstasy. So if you're wild, you're kind of this contained force that can, as it were, explode. It can effervesce in this kind of joy, in this, well, wildness. So we can see the whole shamanic way as becoming wild in this sense, knowing who we are, finding the balance at the center of the wheel. The balance is always to be found by listening deeply to ourselves and what it's telling us. Everything's there in us. It's in our body. And maybe I'll say something further about trance dance, because I describe dance as, in ways, a way to wildness. Yeah? Because that's when you let your body take over. That's why they banned Elvis Presley in some states of the USA. He had that energy. It's raw. It's wild. He got it from the black people. Well, he had it anyway, but they inspired him to become that. Which he was that anyway. And the dance, if you like, it's a thing in itself. It's a joyful thing. It's what humans love to do. But it's also practice. It's practice for wildness. So in our modern shamanism, we have a thing called trance dance, where often you're blindfolded so that you're not worried about who's looking at you. You have a minder. Most people are blindfolded. And you just let the dance take you. You're not thinking. It's not choreographed. You let your body take over, and the beat will do that. It will take you out of your head and into your body, much as the steam in the sweat lodge has a similar sort of effect. Any kind of ceremony has that effect. So this is dance as ceremony. You can be taken over. You can be taken over by the spirits. I talked about this at length in the Meeting the Spirits videos. Spirit embodiment. And that's what we've lost. And we've lost that with core shamanism too. You won't become wild through core shamanism, classic core shamanism, because it doesn't involve the body. It's safe in that respect. So dance is the way to your wildness. It's the practice for it. And the more you can do that in the dance, the more you can then just carry that in a different way in your day-to-day life. You always have that poise. You always have that self-possession. Because that thing that knows that's in your body, in a way, is your true self, that your mind is just a servant of. That becomes always with you, always guiding you. You feel alive. You feel vital. You feel in your body. Even when you're shopping or something. That vitality. So that's the wildness. And most of the time, it will be coming out in this self-possessed sort of way. Actually, I was meant to be talking about trance dance, wasn't I? Well, I've looped right back round and I've showed how trance dance is a help to this wildness, and it is also the chaos. Also wants to make that point as well. Chaos as spirit, chaos as liberated spirit. Just whatever it is, that thing in us, it just pours through us when we dance, and we just trust it and we live from it. And that is the chaos in the best sense. That is pure chaos shamanism, is trance dance. Right, I'll leave it there and I'll see you next time.